Don't force my hand, son. If we work together, I know you can be the man that I want you to be.
It's your mama doing this shit to you. Your mama's got in that head of yours. She sent you in here to do this shit to me.
No, this has nothing to do with my mother. This is me. Up to now, you still don't even see me for who I really am. Tried to give you one last chance like you said you did with Breeze, but you're in the way. You're in the way of my future like you said he was in the way of yours.
Put the gun down.
No.
Tariq, if you do this shit, you can never go back. Just give me the gun.
I can't go back.
Hey, son.
This is how Tariq can surpass Ghost. Yes, you've seen it right. That is the topic of today's video. And we're going to be discussing how I think Tariq can finally surpass Ghost and how he could have made more moves to surpass Ghost in the previous show, Power Book 2 Ghost. But, you know, some of the marks that they missed and, you know, storylines that they kind of let falter to the side. Now, before we get into Tariq and Ghost, I would love for you guys to check out my last two videos. First one, Tommy declares war in 4 Season 3. As you guys know, the teaser is out and, you know, it's been rumbling a lot of noise. Also, make sure you guys check out my last video where I talked about your boy Mecca, one of the villains who I also think is going to play a big part, or could have played a big part, in Tariq's development. Now, when it comes to Tariq surpassing Ghost, I feel like the writers have squandered a lot of opportunities post-original Power, post-OG Power, right? We know Tariq was the one to kill and take out Ghost, so naturally, you'd expect him to be his predecessor, right? The one to take over and to become the new Ghost. But that transition hasn't really been good, and the way that they've kind of went about making Tariq into that type of character, or attempting to, has just been very, very lazy, very, very sloppy. And, you know, the way that the OG Power ended, you would have thought, and even the way that Ghost started, the first 2 seasons, you thought, okay, this is actually going somewhere. And one of the mistakes I felt they made was just not developing the character and putting too much focus on characters that weren't Tariq and didn't really push Tariq's storyline forward, right? Too much on the Tahadas and some of those other characters that, you know, just really didn't need to play a role in Tariq's development. And it just made Tariq kind of stale, right? You feel like in watching those 3-4 seasons of Ghost, he didn't really grow. He didn't really develop as an individual. When you look at Ghost, right, one of the things that made his character so, you know, loving and magnifying is the fact that he just went through a lot of stuff in the original Power. We've seen the ups and downs of Ghost. We've seen kind of the mindset and the shift. Like, he knew what he wanted, he knew who he wanted to be, and he moved in a way where we kind of knew what his vision was. With Tariq, you don't even know what he wants. You don't know what his goals are. You don't know what his aspirations are. It's kind of like he's just living day by day. And we know from watching Ghost in the OG Power that one of the things that made him so dangerous and so powerful is he always had moves. He always had plans. He was always 10 to 50 steps ahead of everybody on the board, right? Whatever move you thought about making, Ghost already thought about that in like 12 other counters before you even matriculated your thoughts together, right? That's why he was so dangerous, and Tariq hasn't really adapted that mindset of being 10, 15 steps ahead, because you've seen so many people outsmart him in Power Book 2 Ghost. But then we ask the question, well, how does Tariq become more like Ghost? How does he become more like his father? How does he become more like James St. Patrick, right? Well, the answer to that question is he needs to go through more stuff. And I think the first step is losing Tasha, right? And this is something that I've said numerous times. Like, Tasha should have probably died in the first season or second season of Ghost. When she got out of prison, they should have killed her, because that would have forced Tariq to really be on his own, to really have no one left, and, you know, from his family other than Yaz, and to really take that next step to become that demon, to become that true Ghost that we want to see, because the potential is there. I'd be lying if I say that Tariq didn't have the potential, but it's the matter of what is he going to do with that potential, and how are they going to write him to get to that point. They got to do better with that. Next thing they need to do, especially in Power Legacy, is villains. You need to incorporate the right villains that are going to push Tariq to the brink of who he needs to be, right? One of the things that made Ghost and Tommy so formidable is they went up against the Milans, the Jasons, the Jimenez, so many different people that pushed them to getting better into the game and just really going through stuff that made them way better characters. So you need Tommy to play more of a key role in Tariq's development. There is no one who can better teach Tariq the game. I've said this millions of times. There is no one who can better teach Tariq the game better than Tommy right now. And who better to teach him the game than the one who was working side by side with his dad for half their lives, right? Tommy is the perfect person to teach Tariq the game, teach Tariq how Ghost moved and his enemies and just all the stuff that they went through in the past. He can teach this to Tariq, and Tariq can also internalize that information and use it for himself. Because now that you're gonna have Tariq alongside someone like Tommy, who's one of the best in the game, like there's no way his character won't develop. Like you can't even write that bad, because just being around Uncle Tommy and seeing how he moves in the game, Tariq is gonna pick up on stuff regardless. So either way, they don't have to do too much as far as the writing, just let it flow. Now, I also think that now that Tariq is not tied between being a civilian and a gangster, kind of like how Tommy said, right, he's done with school now. He's all in on the street life. So I think if him and Tommy are having a show together, there's not going to be any space for Tariq to be going to college, to be going to school. We know he lost the trust fund. That shit is gone. So the only thing really left for him is to just be all in the streets. And that's going to make for a lot of development. I feel like one of the main reasons why he couldn't really develop as a character as well is because he was just going to school. For what? You're a full-time drug dealer. Why are you going to class? That doesn't make sense. So now you pair him up with Tommy. There's not going to be any room for any of that bullshit. Tommy's not going to go for that. Another thing that I feel like is going to play a huge factor is the location that these two characters are in, specifically Tariq, because just looking at Chicago, right? Chicago fit Tommy perfectly, right? His visceral, serious, violent energy fit perfectly with that scene of Chicago, and it was a great fit for him for those couple seasons that he was there. Well, Tariq is like, okay, well now he's moving to a different city, different location, along with Tommy. Where's he going to be at? How is that going to fit with who Tariq is and who he's becoming? I think that's going to play a huge factor. A lot of people think they're going to LA, and that's going to kind of be the scene, which I think Tariq could kind of vibe with a little bit. I'm not sure what specific city they're targeting. It could be Atlanta, it could be Texas. I mean, you never know with the Power Universe. So I think that's kind of, some of the information that we're waiting to kind of see and hear back from. We don't have too many details on Power Legacy just yet, but I feel like all of these factors are going to play a huge part into Tariq becoming the person that he needs to be. Right, and Tommy's at the front and center of that. I feel like Braden, Effie, and some of these other characters could also push Tariq's development as well. Just break off the relationships with those people and kind of break some hardships among those relationships. Break some hardships along with Tommy. They could have them beefing during the show as well. So I think there's a lot they could do as long as they just take their time. And Tariq's character, you can't fumble this time. They already messed up in Power Book 2. They need to develop his character once and for all. Depending on how many seasons they take Power Legacy, I mean, you could argue like he could surpass Ghost. It's just a matter of how good is the writing, how good is the show, right? And I think a lot of it is going to also depend on Michael Rainey Jr.'s performance as the Tariq character, right? In the past, we've kind of given him a pass because we thought the writing wasn't, up to par. I didn't think it was up to par for his skills and allowing him to showcase his skills like he did in the original Power. But now I think you got Gary Landon and some of these other great writers that are going to be a part of, writing Power Legacy for Tommy and Tariq. So I think now it's just a matter of he just has to perform. He just has to nail it. He just has to make us fall in love with his character even more than we did, in the first couple seasons of Ghost. And I think if he could do that, he has a real chance of surpassing the character. And I think he also needs to do some legit stuff, right? You can't always be in just the streets. One of the things that made Ghost so dangerous is, bro, he had ties to everybody. He had Simon Stern and some of these other people in the legit world, the Karen Baskets. He had nightclubs. He had the laundry, washing full. He had everything, right? So Tariq needs to definitely expand on that. He needs to grow as far as who he is as a person, business-wise, and he needs to be able to leverage his relationships better and, not be a liability to people. A lot of people have said that everyone that gets around Tariq just gets messed up. Everyone that gets around Tariq, ends up in a bad position. Everyone he loves and wants to be around ends up in a worse position than they were before they met him. So if he can kind of mitigate that and just become a better character and grow and be better, I think they'll have a great chance to have this character surpass Ghost. And if he doesn't surpass Ghost, that's fine. Like, I don't think it's going to be a negative on his character if he doesn't surpass Ghost. I feel like a lot of people are holding him to that standard, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it is possible for it to happen if the writers are on point and the show goes on long enough to where they can really continue to build his character. Because to be honest, he would be a lot closer to surpassing Ghost if in Power Book 2 they built up his character the way they were supposed to. Like, he had 4 seasons to get up, to get even close. I don't even think he got close. right? Some people are going to say because he's on top of the game now in New York that he's on Ghost level. I don't think that's true. I feel like that's kind of something the writers threw at the end of the show because they knew that they were moving on to Power Legacy and they wanted to kind of wrap up the storyline and give Tariq, you know, some sort of happy ending, which they ended up doing. But I don't think he's close to Ghost yet. I think he has a lot of work to do, and Power Legacy is definitely the one chance he has to catch up to him. Let me know if you guys want more videos like this, what topics you want me to touch. I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more videos and content on Power Legacy, Power Origins, and the coming spin-offs, so stay tuned.